So what we'll be discussing now is about C# base classes. Okay, so let's go back to the model and let's create a new class by adding a new item. Okay, so from there, let's create an employee class. Alright, so it will be under the models folder. So now we're gonna key in the keyword. So it will be public class employee. Okay, so if you're gonna have a common denominator, because employee is also a person. Okay, so what we're going to do, it will inherit all the functionalities of the person class. Okay, so because it makes sense, isn't it, that if you are an employee, you are indeed a person. Okay, but the person has its basic properties or fields. So if you go back on the person field, it has a first name, last name, and age. And if you are an employee, definitely you will have those characteristics as well. All right, but what a person doesn't have, let's say, let's put in a property. So let's make it like employee ID. Right? So does it make sense that an employee will have an employee ID, but the person will not? Yeah. So now let's say let's add another property. Okay. So let's make this a string, type string. Okay. Now on the type string, let's say department. The employee will have a department. Okay, and you have to be really careful on filling in the variables, because the variable names, and because it doesn't check for spelling mistakes, so you have to check your own spelling. All right, so Visual Studio only checks for technical errors, and as you can see, the naming convention. So I type in public class as capital E and employee, and so as the properties. So these are C# best practices. So you can put in small capitals and putting underscores, etc. But this is the best practice. Okay, so you see, I start with the capital, and again the second word I start with the capital again. All right. So now let us go back to the main class, which is program.cs. Okay, so let's comment out the person object. Okay, so as you can see, as I comment out the person variable under the person object is not anymore available, so let's delete that as well. Okay, let's delete that. Okay, let's delete that. Now let's create a new instance of the employee. Okay, so let's say employee. Right, so you can see it's creating. It's the intelligence providing us the information as we type. It's making our life easier. So now let's say type employee. Okay, I mean type employee, name employee. So this can be whatever. Name, it can be A, it can be B, but for readability, I want you to practice that as a beginner, and as you become an expert, the readability and the purpose of your objects has significant impact on the way you code, and you will get hard not because you know C# alone. You will get hard. You will stand from the rest because you know how to code C#. You know how to name your variables correctly, your objects correctly, and it signifies its purpose. Okay, so now let's type new employee. Okay, and open and close brackets. Okay, semicolon. Now as we mentioned, that the employee will have the characteristics of the of the person object. Now, as you can see, I could either put a first name, an age, a department, etc. It's already there. So let's do it again. So let's do a first name. Okay. So again, let's copy this. So you already got the concept. Okay. So let's copy that, paste it. Okay. So now let's do an employee, then last name. Okay. Right. So let's copy this as well, just to make our life faster and easier. Okay. Right. So now let's put an employee ID. Dot employee ID. Where is that? There you go. Okay. So what type is it? So if you hover, it's type int, so it has to be a number. So for this instance, so we just enter something by random. Okay. So now what else? So we have the department, employee dot department. Right. So let's say it's marketing. Okay. Okay. So you have to be really careful and keen on watching the data types. Okay, and you know that department is string, and this is int, and this is type employee. Okay, so if you cannot put a different type on a particular object, yeah, and it will make an error. So by just hovering, you can just see straight away that it's very easy. You just have to make sure it's the same type. Yeah, now you see it's type int on the property employee ID under the class employee, and it has the getter and the setter. All right, so now let's since employee ID is type int, and right now we're gonna print something on type string, so there's a workaround in that. Okay, so let's copy this as we print. Okay, so it will let's see, did it error? Okay, so I think it accepted it, so most likely, so there's an int value, you can see that it returns void. Okay, so we'll go back to the function returns on our upcoming lessons, and it has overload, so it's saying that it's right line functionality under the console class. Okay, and it has different signatures. Okay, so don't worry about that for now, because I'm gonna have another lesson about that. So this is type int, so we don't need to convert. Okay, so it's console.right line. Okay, so let's copy this variable, paste it. Okay. Okay, so we have the first name, and we have the last name. So we got the employee ID, employee. I think this will do for now. You could practice on your own and add more lines. Okay, so I think I haven't missed anything, so let's now run it. Alright, so now as you can see, as printed the employee ID, okay, the first name and the last name. Okay, so let's add some concatenation. So what's concatenation? So it allows you to put together a series of string. Okay, so let's say that this is the first name. Okay, put a space in it. Right, another space. Okay, so you see it's having a squiggly line. Okay, so now when I press add, now it fixes it. So the pattern of concatenation, you're putting two strings together. Okay, first name, then it will print the first name. Okay, and now we say that, let's copy this one. I'm being lazy here, so let's paste it. So now it's type it as last name, and okay, it's good last name. Alright, so with the employee ID, let's try if it's going to work. Okay, did it work? No, it did not work because this is type integer. You cannot concatenate on an integer unless you convert this into a string. Okay, concatenation only works on type string. So let's try to convert it. So now I'm converting int to type string. Is it working? So let's see why it's not working. So it's expected a bracket. So let's put another bracket. I think I overdone it. So let's take this out. There you go. Alright, so let's run this again. Right, so as you can see, so let's just change that. So let's say employee number. Okay, and let's run it. Okay, so you see it looks better now. Employee number, first name, and last name. Alright, so this is the end of this recording. I'll see you to the next one.